shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.
I clap, but
Yeah.
da-da-da-da.
Awesome. Yeah.
So if everybody's recording, we can start with the game, and the name of the game is Five Things. So you name a person and you give them a category, and your task is to say 5 things in that category. For example, Eliška, can you tell me 5 best things about Nechi?
Spontaneity, a boost of energy, a big boy, a bird which he doesn't have, and glasses.
Awesome. Awesome. So now it's your task to pick somebody else and play with it.
So, Jiříček, tell me 5 words about your most ugliest dream.
Nakedness, monstrous teeth, public shame, and big brown thing. Teresa, tell me 5 things you love to do when you are sick.
Sleep, eat a lot, that moment just after vomiting, command my partner, and just stay in a dark room. Okay, Iva, tell me 5 things that surprised you at your home recently.
It's freaking cold in the bedroom. The walls were too empty, so I had to furnish the walls. It gets cluttered with dirty dishes several times a day without me knowing how. It's very, very small. And the shine is in these windows in the morning, but not in the afternoon. Look, you tell me 5 things you love about being at home.
You don't have to wash yourself. You can eat whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. And everybody's kind of afraid, which is like the normal way for me, so that's nice. And, well, the apartment, I mean, it's surprisingly larger. I keep discovering new rooms, so that's nice. Nechi, tell me 5 films that would be better if you start in them.
5 films, okay. Titanic. Save Ryan. Apocalypse Now. Star Wars, and Freddy Krueger is back. Okay. Another question for another one.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Jiříček, please tell me 5 things what you like in quarantine.
Sleeping till noon. Forbidden
Good morning,
walks. Sex. TV. And bathing. A lot of bath.
Okay, thanks.
Eva, tell
Yeah.
me 5 things you discovered about your boyfriend during the quarantine.
It's hard. He works all the time. Okay, he actually really does work all the time. He works from 8 in the morning till midnight, which I don't see because he usually doesn't work from home. He can be very direct and strict with his colleagues on all the calls. He never cleans up after himself, and he always seems surprised when I ask him to do so. He's very good at board games, which is what we do nowadays. And I love him, but that didn't surprise me.
That went deep.
And Eliška, tell me 5 things that Ida is good at nowadays.
Oh, she loves licking her fingers, and she's really good at it. Then also she likes to pull my hair, so she's taking them off. And she's good in watching the screens. Actually, she's able to identify any kind of screen in the room. Terrific. And 4th, she can move quite quickly, suddenly. And 5th one, she starts jiggle, so she's very entertaining now. Terka, tell me 5 things about your morning routine.
So, first one is staying 1 more hour in bed. Then waiting for Martin to switch the room with myself and Adamek. Then take a very fast shower, like 2 minutes, and another 2 minutes for breakfast, and then feed Adamek. Okay, Luki, tell me 5 things you don't want to do once this situation is over anymore.
I don't want to do anymore. Okay.
Look,
I
you
guess
are muted. You are muted.
But it was nice.
So I don't want to ever be muted again. I'm never gonna wait on Rohlík another second. I think I'll have a long break in playing PlayStation, watching movies, and reading books, which I'm planning to do for the next 2 months. Cool. So I think that finished the rounds, and we haven't really decided on a name, but I suggest Together Far Apart, and we might end up putting a different label on it. And I'll do the intro. This is the 12th day of coronavirus quarantine in Czech Republic. Under mandatory restrictions and self-measured safety precaution, and with ever-present fear of contracting the virus, Czech companies struggle to establish themselves without having the opportunity to meet face-to-face. I am now with Colorful Group, combining different fields of expertise in enterprises large and small, by sharing a mindset and tools. So who is Eliška Remešová? She's an experienced HR leader, consultant and coach. Experience is eternal professional in FMCG, IT, and as external consultants also in retail, utilities and financial services. She knows how to manage remote teams, how to build trust and inspire engagement. Eliška, can you wave and say how are you?
Hey, I'm pretty okay, thanks.
Iva Rodelerová is a psychologist by education who professionally grew up in both corporate and startup HR environment, trying to help employees to be both happier and more productive. Now she's working in private practice as a relationship and sex therapist. Iva.
Right here, and yet again, thank you for destroying my name. That was lovely.
yeah, I'll do it in any language if you want.
Thank you. It's something I can rely on in these unpredictable days.
Yeah, it's nice, right? Tereza Schindlerová, she's an agile coach building self-organized teams in software development teams since 2012, helping individuals to understand what it means to become a team member and how to deal with it. Hey.
Hi.
Thank you. Jiří Charvát, former lead copywriter in IT company. After a hallucinogenic trip, he quit his day job and became a full-time comedy writer and stand-up comedian. He writes at home.
Hello, I'm alive, so I'm glad.
yeah, that's nice. And Ondřej Nečas is a teacher, but he is also a small business owner using applied improvisation to create and market classes for public and workshops for companies. Improv gives confidence to individuals and creates strong teams ready to adjust and work together.
Hi, I stay alive too. And I'm for you here.
And we're going to be discussing leadership, assessment, engagement, and mindset during an unpredictable crisis. And let's just warm up with an easy one. How is your life different those 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks that you spent mostly home, I guess? So let's take it alphabetically. So Eliška?
Frankly speaking, for me, it's not really big change. As you can notice, I have a baby, so I'm already in quarantine the last 3 months and trying to survive every single day. So actually now I feel quite okay that everybody is experiencing how is it to be on maternity leave.
Iva?
Yeah, my daily routine has changed quite a bit. I work as a psychotherapist in private practice, so usually I would be meeting clients face to face. Now I have therapies online via Skype or other similar tools like that. And also my life has changed in a way that I'm a lot more in touch with my friends, I've discovered. We have, friendly get-togethers via Skype or Zoom. We drink wine in the evening and look at each other through screen. So that's how my routine looks like nowadays.
Thank you very much. Tereza?
So me, similar to Eliška, I'm also on maternity leave since January, so not many things changed, but some did. For example, my husband is at home with me now, so we need to coordinate so that we can survive in our small flat. And I'm not a person who does lots of planning, but I had to do some planning in terms of what we gonna eat. So like some shopping plans and also cooking plans, which is completely new for me because I don't know how to cook much, and now I'm cooking every day, sometimes even twice. So I think after this I will be a very experienced cook.
Thank you very much. Jiříšku, how are you? How are you doing?
For me, there is no change in place because I work at home, but nowadays I don't really work because it's really hard for me to grab motivation because my calendar is going emptier and emptier, and I don't really believe when I communicate about anything that it will really turn out. So I try to motivate myself again after these first 14 days to adapt to the situation and believe it's really worth it to put a word on a paper.
Thank you very much. Andrzej?
For me, it's different because different that during time because all my work is around and all my life is around improvisation and around the workshops when I'm meeting a lot of people, and now I'm alone at home and the biggest change is I moved from the places to just one place, and this place is internet. I trying to change my habits and change all my workshops to online. Is different. It's different. Because it's not so personal, but I see that for people in a two same situation is very, very helpful, and it's powerful for me.
Thank you very much. So let's move outside a little bit, and I'm gonna ask all of you, what is the situation in Czech companies? What do you know about the mindset, about the atmosphere? Mine that the situation is very different in different fields, since some shops are closed by law, some companies are in self quarantine, some have closed their production, and some they're actually quarantined. So whoever wants it, just get it.
Okay, I will start. Because I see that a lot of people like me who's working with the people lose all businesses for another a few months, and I see that we need to find new ways how to find how customers, and now is biggest problem because we don't know. The biggest problem is that we don't know how long we will stay at home, how long will the quarantine will be, and what will be after that. If the companies or people, employers will have money for buying things like workshops of improvisation or something similar. Yeah, that's but I see that it's necessary to adapt to this situation and try to find the new ways.
Cool. So anybody else wants to add? Thank you.
I'm not really in contact with companies. Only my girlfriend works in Central Army Hospital, and now she's at home for a week. They split themselves to two halves. In case one of the halves will get infected, the other will be there to skip in, and they are building some tents outside for more patients if they will come, and so this is my only contact with the company, doctors.
Okay, so anybody less anxious is also welcome to speak.
So maybe I can mention a few words about the corporation I'm in touch with and I worked for before I went for maternity leave. It's a huge corporation in pharma industry and I was working in their IT department. And just yesterday I asked my colleagues what has changed since they are at home. And they said that they are less effective, but not that many things changed because they worked as a team before and they were used to some of the team members being at home from time to time. So they already were used to using the chat or video conferences. So not that many things changed apart from one fact that they are not allowed to take their monitors from the office home. So if you are a software development programmer, developer, then it's hard for you to do it just like on a notebook's screen.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
why can't they take it?
Because it's a huge corporation and they don't have like controlling process for this, like how to dismantle the monitor, who will take what, and how to control damages. And they would have to create such process, and for this you need someone's motivation to really do it and make it approved, which can be quite long process in corporation.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So one thing I can observe from a very close, I myself as a freelancer now, I'm not that affected by that. By my boyfriend, he works for international consulting company where they also previously worked on remote, so it's not such a big difference. But what he says is that this informal personal contact that you have with the team in the team room, when you just chit chat, you get a lot of things solved very quickly, while nowadays you have to schedule particular time for that. So there's this whole layer of managing your time. Really, I think it adds up a lot on the side of you having to manage your time very well, and for each individual conversation either have to write it or schedule time, or and then sometimes it leads to the fact that what would people naturally discuss, they just keep to themselves because it's just too much hurdle to get it with somebody. But overall he likes it because he spends less time walking between meeting rooms because he just sits at one place.
Maybe to complement it also from the strategic or HR perspective, as I'm still in the center of network of HR professionals, I think it really depends on which kind of industry you are working in. Because for some companies, this crisis actually really means some acceleration or kind of like a boost of performance. And especially we are talking about companies which are supporting delivery systems, logistics, etc. Because these companies now are really in the Christmas period, actually.
Yeah.
And then the other industries which are really dependent on the people touch or being able to work with them. And now they are suddenly, I would say, probably suffer the whole situation. So first thing is industry difference. And the second thing is also the habits in the company. So there are lots of companies which are already used to work remotely or work with digital technologies. And for them, I would say this situation is kind of like a state exam, right? It's a finally time to prove that it works. It's not just a game and we are acting if we can do that, but it's actually, okay, it's a real time happening and we can prove we are able to manage it. And on the other hand are the technologies which were so much struggling to get the innovations in company and get them on board. And suddenly they have no other choice. And of course, these companies are suffering a lot currently because they have no experience. Their people are kind of lost. Also, they are lost in their own emotions. So they are panicking and try to actually force a bunch of people to work and be effective if they never do it before remotely, right?
So I might pick some things that, from all of that. And first of all, we mentioned that some companies are in complete loss of business. That they're just everything is frozen. So Ondřej, what was your steps to deal with it, and maybe what would you advise? Financially, psychologically.
We had a crisis meeting with the crisis management, and we evaluate risks what we have now, what risk in a financial part, and what another risks like if we can get our team together for all time. We named the risks, and after that we brainstorm what choices we have for another time. And after that we saw that we have some choices, and we need to present it to our team and create another steps with all teams. Yeah, they saw that we have some target to stay alive. We presented them the situation, financial situation and business situation. They accept it, and we should to start to create new things together. It was necessary because if it will go just from ourselves, it will not function. The people will not feel into the our business, yeah, you know. And after that, after the creativity meeting, the brainstorming, we saw many things what we want to do, and for all was just one role. Take one thing, one activity what you want to do, and let's do it. Yeah. And it was very nice to see how the people was so very motivated, and they started to do it. And it was the first step. And from the most important thing on it was not stay on the one place to now, but find but don't fear, do one step to the future.
Thank you.
A little bit difficult to say it, but you understand me.
Totally worth it.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm opening the question to the rest of us. Is this a good moment to promote change? So because now the consequences are unforeseen, and maybe the resistance that would be there normally, it would be, you know, comical.
I feel like you don't have to promote any change because the change is already here without any promotion needed. It's just here, and I think it is a good moment when people are rather motivated to make it work and turn it to the best for themselves. And as Eliška mentioned, I think now processes that companies have been waiting for a long time, as of, for example, automation, those were long-term projects that were not often successfully handled because there was not enough initiative and not enough momentum and motivation, which now there is. So I think it is a great time.
For me personally, this is the perfect time to distinguish between true needs and false needs. What I have been doing wasn't necessary to my thriving, and now the simplest things were taken from me, and I can really see what's important and what is not.
Is that something that will necessarily happen in big terms in the companies as well? That they just have to go frugal right now, just have to cut anything that is not necessary?
I think again it really depends on the leadership style and the culture of the company. I believe that there are still companies which are focused on pretending that nothing is happening and keep everyone busy the same way, just different with different tools and with different manners. On the other hand, I also believe there are companies which this crisis actually means a real block, and they need to overcome it by total mind shift, right? So in this case, if this is the case of the companies, I believe they are really stopping the business right now, and they are thinking, okay, how we are going to do it? We need to actually rethink how we are so far organizing ourselves, and we need to find a new way, or maybe even new way of providing services, or even changing the service itself, right, to be able to survive. And as the change is difficult, I think it's also about the way how we are looking at it, because as the cliche says, like, the change is the opportunity, right? So everyone now has the opportunity to decide how we are going to cope with that. And actually, if you at the end of the crisis will leave it as a winner, because you figured out something new, you innovated in some area, or you actually improve your service, so it's kind of crisis proof for the next level, or actually if you are just dying in it.
So before we mentioned, Teresa mentioned that her former company came prepared. So maybe I would like to expand on that. What do you think was the preparation that is helping those enterprises that are now functioning? Or maybe the question is, what are the stones of remotely working company?
Mm-hmm. So I think like partially prepared were the IT companies, because they are in like fast moving industry. They need to adapt a lot because technologies evolve very quickly, and there is a big competence among the companies. So you either adapt to change or bring innovation, or you just die. And since there is lack of developers worldwide, those companies didn't have a chance to tell those you need to be collocated, and they had to accept that just some developers will be working remote, and thus like the technology for remote working developed. And I believe that for this to work well, you cannot use like command and control management. You cannot divide people between thinkers who decide and doers who execute the work, but you need to bring this together, because usually people who execute the work, they know the best how to optimize the work, how to become more effective, and what improvements could help. And that's why I think like autonomous teams or self-organized teams is something to try for some of the companies, or opportunity for nowadays uncertain situation, because I believe that even after this crisis, another change will happen, that's something unexpected that we will need to face. And if we learn how to do it now, then we are better prepared for future. It's not like that now we will do a one-time change, and then after this crisis, we stay as we are because we managed to survive, and that's it. So I think... I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Well, maybe we can because we all reacted a lot when we were talking about leadership. So what is then the long distance leadership? What has to be done? What do you think personally is now important? Anybody or everybody, please.
So what I would recommend to any leader is to now think. If he knows where he is, meaning like the level of uncertainty in his business, and if he knows what needs to be done. If he's not clear about that, I would open this to the whole company or to the employees or to the teams and involve them, like similar to what Ondřej did. Like be transparent to keep trust of people and open this to people and actually use their knowledge, their experience to figure out what needs to be done. And then another thing, so it's kind of like delegation. You involve people who maybe until now were used to be told what to do. So it's hard and it cannot be like done at once. You need to think of it gradually. So you open it to people and you ask them, so how do you think you can contribute to solving this situation? Let's try something. Let's design an experiment. Maybe it will be a failure, but we are okay with this because we have no other choice. We need to try something, and everyone can contribute. And if this doesn't work, at least we learned something, and it will move us forward.
Thank you very much. Any comments on that, please?
I will continue. This time is for me is necessary to take a rest. For example, 1 or 2 days without internet, without all bullshits, just with myself. Yeah, and after that, I can to see more, and for me is necessary to stay cool. Stay cool and without emotions.
Thank you. Yeah, we need time to process the outcomes of our decisions. Anybody?
I also find this good time to contemplate, and I can talk for freelancers or for people who suddenly must work from home and are not used to it. And I have seen articles about that working from home is overrated and it's not so easy. And when I quit my day job 3 years ago, I was completely lost. My whole day turned into a big timeless blob for a half a year, and I can't push myself to do anything. So after that, I installed a mobile app to build habits, and now I have a board on the wall which I can show. This is my board with colorful tokens which tell me what to do in part of my days to stay on track, and without that I'm completely lost. So I think creating habits is crucial for these times when you don't have a boss behind your ass.
And I think, Ježíček, you absolutely nail it. Like from the psychological perspective, having the routine and having the daily plan. So actually chunk the big elephant to small pieces, to define the times which you are effective, and define the times when you actually have a pause, have a break, when you have the more like urgent topics to solve, and when you have more like a strategic or creative thinking. Actually, I really think that this should be the recipe to manage the home office, right?
Yeah.
Also, what I think on the level of habits, and maybe not that much leadership style as managerial style, more like tactical rather than strategic, is to make these habits part of your daily work routine, such as morning check-in with your team, to have it just very briefly 5 minutes to say what are we going to be working on during the day, and then in the afternoon a check-out also can be very short, so that it helps you differentiate the time you spent at work, because as we are now in the physical environment is still the same, it's still our household, and as Eliška mentioned, have the time defined as work time and this is the time to rest is very important. So give the work day a symbolic beginning, but also the end. Because when I talk to my clients nowadays, it's a topic for them that at the end of the day they don't feel great because they don't really know if they've achieved anything or not, and the sense of achievement and that I've done something is very important for their well-being, and we should be mindful of that so that we just don't get lost in between one coffee and another Netflix episode, which is not great for our well-being.
Thank you. So,
I think also that this need for achievement is also kind of a trap, because this is the thing that can't allow us to do nothing or be just for a week with ourselves. So
through that, I was probably more talking about people who are at work still, who don't have free time when they you know. It's difficult to really work those 40 hours a week from your living room.
yeah, I was gonna add that perspective that I never had any routine in my life before, so nothing changed. And I always been afraid to come out among people. I didn't like it, but because of the job I do it, and so in a sense I've been preparing for this also for a long time. Yeah.
On the other hand, back to your questions about the leadership, I think it's also important to think on the other side of the spectrum, which is all the companies or all the services which are actually now in emergency mode, right? Talking about integrated health care, about the hospitals, about the social workers, etc. Because as I think the funny thing right now is the bipolarization, right? So like majority of the people needs to stay home and need to work from distance, and there is another group of people who actually works like hell and maybe like never they worked before. So suddenly all these chef doctors, all the chiefs of the firefighters, policemen, etc. needs to prove a true authentic leadership to keep people at work, keep them motivated despite the tiredness, despite the stress, despite the extra working hours, etc. Right? So I think the challenges are on the both sides of the spectrum.
So what you mentioned before was like the attitude that mistakes are gonna happen, accidents will happen. So where do you get that, or do you have that when you do improv that I know that all of you have ever performed in your life?
it's like that sense when you go through the unknown path again and again. It's improv for me, to have the courage to go with the idea, with the path. Even when I'm writing, it's the same. And now it's also the living itself.
Yeah, right now I feel that a big, I wouldn't say failure, but there's a big setback in all our lives that we need to just keep going with and accept it and turn it to our advantage if possible, to use it as a way of taking a break or something. It's just for me, is this what now materialized is that I probably saw some path in my life. I knew more or less what's gonna happen in a 1 month time, in 2 months, in 3 months maybe, and right now all of that fell apart. And it's like this plain white sheet of paper, and I don't know really what's going to happen next, and I cannot know what my life will look like in 3 months. Right now I probably know what's going to happen in 3 days, and that's where I can start, and only have to be patient and wait, because in that 3 days time I will know more. So for me it's now living through this just step by step and take it one step at a time, and not force myself to know how this is going to end. So it's a lot of yes and in practice.
Yeah.
For me, the fails is exclamations and new opportunity for do think different. Now I see that in my story that I couldn't to do my work. Okay, the fail is coronavirus virus, and now I can see that I should to do my work cross internet. Wow, it's opportunity, and I see a lot of things what I want, what I should to do. It's nice. Without that, I never seen that.
Thank you. So let's get practical a little bit, because working remotely is not a new thing, and it sounds like a great idea, but it has been tested that it has a lot of difficulties inbuilt. So how let's name them firstly, and let's talk a bit about how we can fix them, how we can work around those issues.
One difficulty I know is that when you talk to people through Skype or Zoom or anything, it really isn't the interaction you are used to. It looks dishonest because you don't really see micro movements of muscles around the eyes. We don't really make eye contact because I don't look at the camera, I look on the monitor, so I'm not looking into any eye, and you can subconsciously feel it, that I am really not honest with you in this moment. So we must overcome this, maybe by games or be close but far.
Okay, thank you.
I'd say a good thing is to make
anybody's
it a
take
part
on
of
that?
the game, because we all know that it sucks at some level, right? So I don't know, not to pretend that it's not here and rather take it in. And I think that the more interactive the tools are, the better, when you can start, I don't know, putting like hearts on the wall or something, kind of interact and use the whatever the tool offers. Yeah.
What I would add to this is that sometimes people blame tools for not being good enough to enable them working remotely efficiently. And I think it's also about a willingness of each of us to put some extra effort into understanding each other, like put some curiosity into how are you today, and really asking how are you, or what have you been up to, or what's your context today, or here it's very warm now and I should open my window and there is some noise coming from outside, like, so that we can get better rapport and then have a fruitful meeting. So I think that putting extra effort now into these things is very important. And for example, my husband said yesterday that, for example, when he's in the office and he has some question to ask, like he thinks it's a stupid question, but if there are more people around sitting, he would just ask because it doesn't cost anything. But now he is thinking, should I write email? Should I write email to everyone or to a single person? Or should I call someone or write someone over chat? Or should I just Google it because it's a stupid question and I don't want to look silly? So these are like inefficiencies that come with remote work, that we sometimes block ourselves, putting some filters or some blockers to our communication.
I see the struggles also with the management of the calls and the meetings. So it's very demanding on the moderator or facilitator side, because when you have all the verbal or visual cues, you can see if somebody is going to talk or not. And here you have all of these mute, unmute awkwardnesses happening all over the time. And also in this case, everybody is kind of like hesitating and they don't want to jump in. So it's a really tough work actually for the facilitator to make the conversation flow and to actually find a rhythm which could be more natural. And adding to it, I think it's also the overall awkwardness around, which is connected with, okay, now I need to go to toilet, for example. So what should I do? Should I turn off the video or should I actually tell it to everybody and then it will be recorded and stored in some files, right? I went in this important meeting to toilet.
Thank you for
that.
Great.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I'm giving you the space for that. So actually, I think it's also about finding the balance for like admitting it, right? Like it's as it is.
Yes, it's acceptance, right? It's how it is. Yeah. And in a sense, this can, restore just a bit of that informality that we now lack in communication. That is, so important to really talk. Like you have the meeting, and then you actually get shit done on a cigarette or somewhere else. So if missing that can be really hard.
Yeah, I know that, for example, some teams at my previous work, they were missing like the chit-chats in the kitchen. So they just scheduled a meeting, like coffee break, and the whole team just connected to that meeting and just talked about random stuff. Not the work-related stuff, but just like...
Actually, this is also a very good practice in the more innovative companies. They are setting the online pubs, right? And it's kind of cool because you also need to respect even time zones, right? Because we can talk in our country that you work remotely, but also there were companies, international ones, which need to work together with everybody. And now everybody are at home, not only people in Czech Republic or in Europe, right? But also in US, Asia, etc. So it means that you are actually connecting in a different time zones, and very often the timing is kind of set. And for you, it could always mean that it's actually happening in the night time. And also be tolerant to the clothes, for example, that you don't need to be formally dressed. That is okay if you are already in the t-shirt because it's Friday 7 p.m. and you are still on the call because you are in a different time zone. Or giving the space to take a drink with you, right? So adding to what Terka, what you are saying, we had a very nice online pubs, like everybody brought a drink and actually put it on the table. So somebody were drinking wine, somebody beer, but actually we had the conversation. And of course, sometimes we talk 3 people at the same moment, but actually it's happening in the real time as well, right? So it wasn't such a big difference at the end.
Yes, or for example, my team, they established or they created a new channel in their chat called like home office tips, how to have a better home office. So if you are a leader of a team and you don't have like many ideas how to make this more comfortable, you can just like use experience of your people and ask them to share it, because as they are working from home, they are gaining new experience and they can share it. And one thing that I wanted to mention regarding the current situation that everyone is working remotely, one advantage of this is actually symmetric access to information. Because imagine you have a team of 5 people, 3 of them are working from the office and 2 of them are remote. Those 3 that are working in the office have much more interaction during the day, so they share the context. And if it's work-related stuff, then it's hard for them to transfer this context to the other 2 that are working from home. And they need to put extra effort for doing that. So now we are in the situation that actually we are all remote, so we all have the same context because we have the meeting all together, or we are all separated alone at home.
Thank you so much. So maybe for the closing, is this also opportunity in the sense of empathy and tolerance? So this will be something large that everybody will have to somehow get through, and we have to adjust to some extreme measures in all areas of our lives. So at the end we might end up being much nicer to each other.
Empathy. I like that. You said empathy. I was thinking about consciously bringing also our personal self in the game, because right now that's what would be happening without us realizing at work, in the kitchen meetings and so on. And right now, as it's all scheduled and planned, we have to make space for this personal touch also online and give it enough importance not to forget it, because then I'll just fall apart. To consciously work on the relationship part of our work lives and be forgiving of mistakes.
I keep finding myself advising everyone to start doing improv because it literally changed my life. And actually here, in this situation, I think that the improv principles are the easy steps to follow, and let the other people shine and actually use and bring more sense of humor into it, and kind of complement to the idea and feel for the big piece, or for the big walliness of it, and not feel just like it's me and I'm doing something, but actually it's a we and we can make it together. I think it's a very, very crucial.
I see how people are much more fragile and dependent than I even thought of before. How we need each other not only to cooperate to create something, but to stay sane. And I am happy that I'm not only one who's crazy after a week only with myself. And I see the system must be rich and healthy to allow me to play my game, and I am solo, but not really.
I think that we will be more empathy with the others, not just with the colleagues, but with the others outside, where the medics, policemen, firemen, and firemen and the others helped us, and I think that we will be more human in the future, because now we are in a crisis, and I see around me that it's full of people who want to help, and it's powerful to see it, because I know why I'm doing my job, why I'm living, because we will collaborate and we will stay together and not alone, not in stress, and I think that we will be more stronger after that.
I can add to that what I'm now more aware of is how interdependent we are, and if there is a crisis in one part of the world, I can no longer say it doesn't regard me, because I'm far from that. And now I feel really close to all my friends in San Francisco, in New Zealand, all over the world, because we share the same situation, which is kind of scary because you feel like, oh, they are so far, yet they are in the same situation.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot that for the first time in the history there is a narrative that connects basically everyone. It's, I think, maybe the closest thing to it would be a wartime, which none of us have lived through, fortunately. But here the enormous feeling of that we are on the same boat is very powerful and gives us energy to overcome it. And also it's beautiful to see here within the first days of this crisis situation, we had a big lack of face masks for people working in hospitals, etc. And many people started helping with that and starting with the co-creation of something that can help us all. And here I saw that against many psychological principles, I saw a spark of shared responsibility. When people were not just waiting for the others to solve their problems, but they took initiative and participated in their situation proactively. And that gives me great hope.
And anybody wants to add anything to that? So I think we can close with those words. I thank you all for participating in this. And with all that being said, we might only guess what changes, cultural or geopolitical, this crisis will bring. This was a discussion of teachers and owners of Škola Improvizace, Prague-based educational company using applied improvisation to create workshops and programs. We help build great teams and help individuals find confidence and brilliance.
Yay!
Yay!